Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Charles Sebastian, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamers Pro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. And today we got a pretty interesting show for you guys, but before we get into it, please make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Also, if you want to follow me on Instagram, my name is Charles Sebastian. My handle is CTABANZ. If you want to follow the channel, Instagram, same name as the channel, Dreamers Pro. And also, if you want today's full show before it comes out on YouTube, it is streaming for free on the Dreamers Pro podcast, pinned in the comments below. Anyway, let me get into this topic here. So this is going to be a pretty interesting one. So what happened? Over the holiday, there were some pretty big games, many of which I didn't watch because I was doing a lot of running around. By the way, Merry Christmas to a lot of you. If you didn't hear it from us then, you're going to hear it from us now. Merry Christmas to you and your loved ones. Anyway, there were some pretty big games on the Christmas slate. There were the Knicks versus the Bucks, Golden State Warriors versus the Denver Nuggets. There was a bout between the Lakers and the Boston Celtics, the Philadelphia 76ers and the Miami Heat, and of course the Dallas Mavericks and the Phoenix Suns. And one of the marquee matchups of the night was between reigning Finals MVP and NBA champion Nikola Jokic versus former NBA Finals MVP, former champion, etc., Stephen Curry. Right now, I didn't see that game. However, a clip was sent to me from one of our teammates here at Dreamers Pro, Mitch. He sent me the clip of Steve Kerr talking about what happened at the end of the game, or what happened throughout the duration of the game. So I go look at the clip to see what he was talking about. Well, apparently in that game, Nikola Jokic finished that game with 26 points, 14 rebounds, 8 assists. But here's the thing. He had 18 free throw attempts from which he made all his free throws, and the Denver Nuggets ended up finishing the game with 32 free throw attempts to 23 for the Phoenix Suns, which was something that ended up eliciting, and if I'm being honest, a very frustrated yet candid response from head coach Steve Kerr, who was very upset at the way things played out. So that's the comments that we really want to get into today. But before we even get into that, this video is brought to you by our sponsor, Factor Meals. If you're like me or anybody that works at Dreamers Pro, chances are you're a very busy person, especially during the lunchtime when you don't have time to go to the grocery store, pick out fresh ingredients, and come back home and cook healthy, delicious meals. Sometimes we're so busy that you just end up finding yourself making a ham sandwich or something like that, which isn't really ideal. And this is the reason why we are excited to be partnering with Factor Meals. Factor Meals is America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit. You can choose from up to 35 gourmet meals. Every meal is packed with premium ingredients, crafted by Factor Meals' team of culinary experts and designed by dietitians to ensure that every meal is packed with premium science-backed nutritional quality. Your meals are delivered directly to your door, and all you need to do is heat them up in just under 2 minutes. Then they are ready for you to eat and enjoy. So for example, this week, I think I'm gonna go with the Italian herb chicken. What I love is that under every single meal, you can see if it's a calorie conscious option. For example, this meal I just chose is the dietitian approved calorie smart meal, which is around 550 calories or less per serving, and also a protein plus meal with 30 grams of protein or more per serving. So if you want to give it a try, click the link in the description below or head over to factormeals.com/dreamers50 and use code dreamers50 to get 50% off. And remember, when you try Factor Meals by using the link in the description below, remember that you're supporting this channel. Thank you. So what we want to do is we're going to play exactly what Steve Kerr had to say here, and then we're going to come back and continue on the show. Take a listen to what he had to say here.
I thought we played okay. I think we can play better for sure. I thought the ball didn't always move like it could have. You know, we only had 23 assists. Didn't shoot it particularly well. But you know, you go on the road against the defending champs. You got to play your A game, and we didn't play our A game.
Jokic finished with 18 free throws. I mean, you guys were clearly upset with some of the calls.
Yeah.
Just what did you think about how big a factor was the way he was today?
Yeah. I have no problem with the officials themselves. They're all across the league. We have really good officials. I have a problem with the way we are legislating defense out of the game. That's what we're doing in the NBA. The way we're teaching the officials, we're just enabling players to BS their way to the foul line. If I were a fan, I wouldn't have wanted to watch the second half of that game. It was disgusting. It was just, just baiting refs into the calls, but the refs have to make those calls because that's how they're taught. So I have a real problem with the way we've legislated defense out of the game in this league, and the players are really smart in this league, and for over the last decade or so, they've gotten smarter and smarter, and they're just we have enabled the players, and they are taking full advantage, and it's a parade to the free throw line, and it's disgusting to watch.
So you heard what Steve Kerr had to say. Now, as he was speaking, I began to think about all of the various platitudes that gets thrown around when we hear, oh, this is the most advanced era ever. And funny enough, I was recently listening to Rasheed Wallace, and he was talking to a gentleman, and the guy said, this is the most advanced era ever. And Rasheed Wallace was one of the first people to push back and say, wait. Really? Based on what? Can you expand on that? And it basically went back to the same trite argument, which is players today are faster, stronger, quicker. They have more skills, meaning they can shoot the ball more and dribble the ball. Essentially, that's what it is. And Rasheed Wallace had to push back and say, well, hold on, guys. So they do not play defense. They are not skilled defenders. Number two, they don't have a post game. And they're basically two-dimensional players, layups and three-point shots. None of these guys really have a mid-range game. And if you take away those offensive packages from them, then they're going to be nullified, right? So that was his pushback. And it made me begin to think, because what I have noticed over the past, let me say 3 months, and it's quite obvious to the observant eye, or the observant observer, right? Which is this. There have been a few things that have been taking place. One of them is we need to find a way to dilute the era in which Michael Jordan played in to enhance this particular era of basketball, right? So by doing that, what we need to do is we need to systematically break down Michael Jordan, his competitors, and that era of basketball. And that's what you've been seeing. That's what you've been seeing, from various news and media outlets all throughout the space, right? One person will say, well, who did Jordan really face? Another person will say, well, were there really any skilled players in that era? Another person will say, well, what MJ did, was it really that impressive? Or who did he really face, right? And then they will now take that information and then juxtapose it with what's going on today, and then try to make it seem like what's happening today is so much greater than what we're seeing before. And I want to get to the heart of it, which is the point that Steve Kerr brought up, which was the NBA today is basically creating a product that that basically siphons out defense, where they're trying to go away from defense by basically creating different mechanisms within the system, i.e. coming up with ways for players to take advantage of the rules by, for example, to get to the free throw line. We recently heard a rant from JJ Redick, who basically said a lot of these NBA officials are bailing out these players. And if without the help of the referees, or not help, meaning, but the way the game is being officiated, most of these guys that we think are great scorers are not really great scorers. It's just because of the way that the game is being officiated. And it makes me go back to my original thought, which is this. If these guys are saying this era is so advanced and all of these things, why did a coach from this modern era come out here and say this? Why did he talk about the way the game is being officiated? Which means that Steve Kerr, who's one of the greatest coaches of all time, certainly one of the greatest coaches of this particular era, if he can see through the veil, then what does that really say about what we're being told? Here's what I think. I think that, listen, there are a lot of guys in media that have a job to do, which is sell you something, right? And they're trying to sell you on the notion that this is the most advanced era ever. I don't personally believe it. We recently had Marcellus Wiley on the show. He tried to give an argument for I didn't jive with it then. I don't see it, right? And I don't see it, and I think that a lot of this is being overhyped. When they say players today are more skilled, I'm yet to understand what that really means. We've heard them say it, but no one has been able to quantify it. Skilled at what specifically? Because if you're going to point to things that they're skilled at, I can point to things that they're not skilled at. I can do that. And if I can do that, then that means you have a particular bias. players today are more athletic than others than ever. Really? Is that so? Are we sure about that? Are they really more athletic than they've ever been? When did Russell Westbrook come into the NBA? Russell Westbrook, let me see. Let me just pull this up. When was Russell Westbrook drafted? Russell Westbrook was drafted in 2008. Russell Westbrook was drafted in 2008. You're talking about 15 years ago, basically. 15 years ago, when Russell Westbrook came into the NBA, they were talking about, is he the most athletic point guard ever? Let's look at another player that was extremely athletic. Derrick Rose. When was Derrick Rose drafted? Derrick Rose was drafted in 2008. These are arguably the most athletic point guards ever. But you look at a John Morant. Now, I look at a John Morant, and I'm like, my God, this guy's very, very athletic. But then if I could go back and think of Russell Westbrook or Derrick Rose, I'm like, those guys were just as athletic. And Derrick Rose was much faster. He was a much faster player than John Morant. And I begin to go back and think about these things. Well, the players today are more athletic. I'm like, Jordan has the highest vertical basically since then. I'm sure there have been some players today that have some pretty high verticals. But Dominique Wilkins existed. Blake Griffin existed. When was Blake Griffin was really doing this thing in the 2010s? And you look at players today are athletic. So I'm like, when they say this, I'm trying to understand it. They're faster. Based on what? Guys are fast then. Guys are fast now. What does that really mean? John Wall was pretty much a bullet on the court. And today you have fast players. So what do you mean by this? And no one can really answer it. And to me, I think it's just propaganda to get the younger audience to believe that. I think that what these guys are doing is that, listen, their job is to convince the younger audience that this era is better, that LeBron is better than Jordan, and they're going to say pretty much anything. And when you have a head coach come out there like Steve Kerr and say what he said, it's a glitch in the system. It's really a glitch. No one is really going to deal with his comments. And if they do try to address his comments, they're going to try to intellectualize it away. Well, no, you see, this is what Kerr meant. Oh, but really what he's saying is this. Oh, but really what he said. That's what will happen. So to me, I think it's quite telling that he said that. And to me, I think it's exposing this narrative that somehow this era was better than the era that Michael Jordan played. I don't believe that. I do not believe that. I'm sorry. Watching Kobe average 35 a game when the average score in the NBA was 102 or 97 is more impressive than anything any offensive player is doing today. I'm sorry. When your team is averaging 100 points per game, 98 points per game, and you score 81, that is very, very, very impressive. But if you score 60 and the score is 120, I'm sorry, I'm not giving you that. That's why Isaiah Thomas, the Detroit Pistons, the great, was able to define what a truly a dominant 30 points is. He goes, a dominant 30 points, or 30 points is not dominant, is when you have 30 and the game is 115, 125. A dominant 30 is when the score is 100 and you get 30. Or 95 and you get, that's a dominant 30. So to me, I'm not buying it. I'm not going to buy it. And I think that what Steve Kerr said was telling. These are just my thoughts. So what I want to know from you guys, number one, what do you think about what Steve Kerr is saying? And number two, do you believe that the NBA is trying to basically officiate out defense and just make it a run and gun league? And if that's the case, do you think we're watching a watered down product? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. And we catch you guys on the next show. Peace.